subcontinent. But nevertheless, that notion of the importance of internationalism is also embodied in Jeremy Bentham.
So if you connect that with the background of Brexit, you have another Remainer sitting there to remind you that you should keep this university more global, as we saw at the global university.
I have absolutely no doubt that Jeremy would have voted to remain.
Next question. You mentioned the expansion of the university, like the last question, the future I hope for UCL. My question is that a lot of universities are expanding. We talked with the head of the Empire, University of London. They remained small, and they believe that small is beautiful. And do you agree with that in terms of the university expansion? Is it true that the bigger the better, or small is beautiful?
I think there are both models, to be quite honest. I think if you look at some of the best universities in the world, they divide into two groups. They divide into one group which has about 20,000 students, usually has a very significant endowment to allow them to support the rest of their activities as they research and teach those students. And that would be typical of Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge. And then there's a group of much larger, usually state-run universities that have a very significantly larger number of students, tend to be more comprehensive in their distribution of disciplines, and their economy works in part because of the size of the institution. And they also perform at world-class level. If I think of other examples around the world, then the one that jumps immediately to mind, because they're such a good partner for us, is University of Toronto. If you look around the UK, other UK universities would fit into this category, Edinburgh, Manchester, for example. So, and the big land grant universities in the United States, Michigan, University of Chicago, Illinois. These are all universities of around about 45 to 55,000 students. And so I think both of those models can work. And I think you just need to be clear about which one you're trying to be. It would not be possible for us to have stayed at 20,000 students, mainly because we didn't have the endowment background, the financial background to keep us at that level.
Is there the ultimate goal? How big should it be for UCL?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I can't. And there's not an answer I can base in strong evidence. Okay, it feels to me as though the size we're growing to at the moment, which is around about, we're at 41,000 students at the moment. When we open up UCL East, there will be another 4,000 students. So it feels the reaction I have is that the size of around about 45 to 50,000 students gives us everything that we need and is manageable. However, there are, University of Toronto now has 3 different campuses and has 90,000 students, and it's also one of the world's leading institutions. So I don't think there's a right and a wrong answer. I think it's what's right for you, what's right for your history, what's right for your staff, what's right for your student body.
Last question. According to Wikipedia, we found your hobby, your pastime is sailing.
Mm-hmm.
So you are they call you a big fan of sailing. So how is, if the student of sailing helps to make a good university leader?
So I think if you want to be a good leader of anything, I think you need some good work-life balance. You therefore need some hobbies and activities that can occupy you and allow you to relax. And if you sail a boat, if you sail a small boat and you don't get it right, you go swimming because the boat capsizes. If you sail a big boat and you don't get it right, something even worse can happen. So you concentrate a lot on the activity, and that helps you to relax. I come back from a sail and I feel totally relaxed, and that puts me into a good place so that I can lead well.
So this university is a big
Ooh, the analogy is drawn a bit too thinly, I think. I think UCL is a great university, it always will be, irrespective of what the provost does for leisure activities.
So I have one more question. So I know that there are many Chinese students, they want to apply for your university. So what's your message for them?
My message is be confident, get great grades in your examinations and in your university if you're already studying at undergraduate level, and we'd be very interested in you coming here. Make sure you look around our prospectus properly, find the right course for you, but I can promise you if you come to London you're going to have a great time. As I said earlier in the interview, this is one of the greatest cities in the world and one of the world's leading universities. We'd love to have your talents at this institution.
Yeah, right. So given your location in the central London, I mean, so it looks like it is very difficult to expand, I mean, physically. So how you will think of another campus?
It's been a real challenge, but if you look around our campus now, you'll see us making a lot of improvements for our students and to our research infrastructure. So we have a large program, about £1.2 billion sterling of activity in 10 years to improve this campus. We do rent some space in central London, but by far the biggest development that we have is UCL East. So that's a new campus that will provide us initially with an additional 50,000 square metres of space, but that will expand out to 180,000 square metres. That's about half the size of the rest of the space that we have here. So it's a very significant development for us. We've also got other developments on the clinical sites. We have an activity also jointly, by the way, with PKU down in Canary Wharf, where we've taken some space down there for our School of Management. So we're trying to develop our satellites appropriately to cope with the type of university that we want to be.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Would you make like your next campus in China?
No, I don't think so. I'm not very keen on overseas campuses for UCL.
But you have Australia and Qatar.
We do, but in both of those we are completing our contracts. The one in Australia will change to be a partnership with the University of South Australia. The one in Qatar, we will finish our partnership with the Qatar Foundation. We may well carry on with some continuing professional development type activity in that country. We're thinking about that at the moment. But we've decided not to do more overseas campuses, and certainly not undergraduate. For the simple reason we'd rather work as we already do with PKU. We'd rather work in partnership with established high quality institutions that can contribute in both directions to that partnership and student exchange and sharing courses, etc., sharing staff, joint supervision of PhD students. You know, those I think are smarter ways of working and being just as international as if you have a campus overseas. And in saying that, of course, I acknowledge that some British universities have done that very successfully. I just think it's not for us. I don't think it would work. UCL is of its place, it's of its history, and it would be very difficult to reproduce something as good as this in another country.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, guys.